because they've seen, okay, well, this person, his brain wasn't fully developed. There's science that says a person's brain isn't fully developed to the age of 25. So a few years ago, a legislator came out with a law saying that they have parole under 21. So if you were found guilty of a offense when you were under the age of 21, many people are getting a second look at their sentence, and those sentences are possibly changing due to that science. So because as when information, and that's the key thing about storytelling, that's the key thing about getting the right information, which is what community navigators do, bringing people to resources, or like when you have your monthly, excuse me, when you have your expungement, thank you. When you have your expungement fairs, basically if people don't know about these expungement fairs, if they don't know about the resources within their community, then you need people to get the word out. Everybody's not listening to the radio or looking at flyers. So you have people that actually have to go in the communities and go sometimes door to door, go in places or stand on corners to let people know about the resources that they have available to them.
Word of mouth is another thing about it. You've been part of our all program, and you've seen what's been going on.
Yeah.
Can you describe to people, you came to multiple alls, you'll be involved in this one.
Yes.
And how Illinois Prison Project teamed up with us in helping people with second chances with their expungement.
Well, I'm just grateful, really, that the work that I do allows me to have a little, a say so in getting out there, getting the word out. So even when you're doing an expungement, I may be sitting there talking about the work that we're doing. There may be other people there talking about the work that they're doing, because we know that people are coming to the expungement fairs, but they have other issues that they're going through. They may have an uncle. I think I spoke to a person at one of the expungement fairs. I spoke to him and he said, yeah, I got an uncle that's, he really didn't know him that well because he's been locked up like 30 years. And I said, well, I got his information and we were able to send his uncle resources, and hopefully that will help him, but that's, hope for someone that's incarcerated, because, people need hope. And you have a lot of people that suffer. Unfortunately, my mother passed while I was incarcerated. My father passed while I was incarcerated. I went in prison with 12 aunts and uncles. I had one left when I came out. So a lot of our families are just, gone. So many of us rely upon, support from our community, support from our churches, some support of friends and families that we've acquired while we've been incarcerated. But we are actually trying to connect to our community. And, we definitely, we want the same thing a lot of our community want. We want safe streets. We want people to be able to, children to be able to go and play in their community. We want good schools for our children and our grandchildren. I have a granddaughter that's 10 years old, so we're trying to, we want them to have a future and to have a safe Chicago.
You mentioned teens.
Yes.
What's been going on now is teen takeover. We talked about this on the Drive at 5 a lot of times. And I say the same thing. Parents need to do more.
Yeah.
Stop being their friends. Get the belt out and tear that hide up.
Yeah.
Even though some people say, well, science and that, it's a difference. I keep on telling people it's a difference between Becky and Shawanda.
Okay.
There's a difference between Brittany and Shaquita.
Okay.
There's a difference. And we're not getting it. We want to be their friend. And I keep on saying, this is real life. This is not Sesame Street.
Yeah.
You take their iPad away and, they'll act right. No. How many parents got killed for taking their iPads away?
Yeah.
How many people, and you're talking about mothers and fathers, because they said the word no.
I think that there are differences, as you say, but I think even when you said, the parents, I see that this is a different generation. You know, I see children now. It's the information, TikTok, Facebook, so many things that really disrupt the structure of the family. Um, taking taking as far as rights of parents to discipline their child. And when I say discipline, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about physically beating someone or something like that, because I believe that
But it helps.
it may have helped some, but I would say this: the reason for discipline is to correct poor behavior. So if poor behavior can be corrected by your presence, constantly, giving, instilling morals, values, and principles in your child, whether it be from a higher power or just the right to do well. One of the things changed me, that basically changed me, wasn't really a beating or anything like that. It was getting educated, which I was denied the education while I was incarcerated, because I had so much time that people with life sentences, 60 years, 70 years, they actually go on the back list of education. So if someone comes in there with 5 years, they're going to go to school and they'll have opportunities to resources, that people like myself did not have. And it wasn't until I began to educate myself, have my family send me books in, GED books. I got my GED while I was there. I got me 2 degrees while I was there. I'm in school now, at College Unbound for Organizational Leadership and Change, getting my bachelor's in that, out of Providence, Rhode Island. I'm so grateful for that. Bill Ayers
Some people
and
become attorneys while they're in prison.
I have a friend, Marshawn Allen. He's going to law school right now, and he was in prison with me. He was my cellmate, and he got a full ride, for law school. He's going to law school now. He's an amazing person. But you have so many people like that are actually making those changes. But it was I've heard of this thing called rational emotive behavior therapy when I was incarcerated, and it was something I started going more into it. And I went to the origins of it, and it said it was founded by Dr. Albert Ellis. I began to read everything I said, and it was basically talking about really, it was a lot of thinking reports, basically isolating an event and then focusing on how it's separating how you feel about it from what happened, and then trying to bring in an alternative thought. If you had a negative thought, bring in an alternative thought. So when I actually began to practice that and do these thinking reports, it began to help me make better choices. And when I began to do that, eventually after doing it so long, I actually began to see that there was a benefit for that. And I think really when you see young people out in the streets now, when your parents telling you go to school, and your parent has 3, 4, 5 degrees and barely can pay the rent, and you're telling them to get an education, how well was that education for you? I have cousins that went to school and their families went broke for sending them to college, and the degrees that they have, they're doing jobs totally different than what their families went broke for.
Managers at Wendy's,
Yeah, exactly.
McDonald's.
Very educated managers at Wendy's and McDonald's. However, to tell a child really that's looking at what you're doing, looking at what their parents are doing, and then seeing, it didn't really work too well for you. And there's other circumstances, of course.
And I would say so.
Uh-huh.
And the reason I would say so is because at that time when I had my education, times were different.
Yeah.
Now you have an opportunity to outdo me. That's what I tell my nephew.
Yeah.
You have an opportunity to outdo me.
Mm.
I would prefer you to outdo me than in 6 feet under.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or in a jail somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing no collect call from Cook County. I'm not doing can you put something on my books? No, I'm not.
Yeah.
And the reason is because I understand the difference between you didn't do nothing. Oh, I know your butt did that.
Mm.
The problem is that you have parents. My child don't do no wrong. My child don't do no wrong. And then you have a pastor that's figuring out the words to make sense
Mm.
because he know your child was an urban terrorist.
Yeah.
I teach and I'm seeing the different behaviors. I know which one has potential.
Yeah.
And sometimes because they have this, give them a hug, give them this. And I said, you better not hug me. Sit your butt down.
Yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't stand me. But once I walked out of that room, they were on grade level. That stinks enough. I help you move on. Oh, Mr. Morrow, don't do that. He's going to make you right. As my nephew basically told me, I made him write cursive writing, and I started him when he was 5. You know the difference now when he graduated from high school, and he noticed that some kids that he graduated with don't know how to write in cursive. Don't know some of the complicated words or how to sound it out. And I constantly say this over and over and over. We as adults are failing our children. I don't have any children, but I feel so guilty we're failing them. We got to go to the battlefield, but the parents are not. The parents are getting so young. It's ridiculous. And they still popping babies. What is the next step? If I'm listening to IntellectualRadio.com, Intellectual Family wants to know what's the next step for our teens that's running amok. Teens like now on police cars, twerking. And the police officers can't do nothing. Only thing they can do is look, and they get in trouble for looking. Why you allow that? Because if I would have did something, they're at a catch-22. Now what? Girls that's out there, they're not women, girls that are out there, teenagers wearing booty shorts, going downtown, shaking, wiggling, and doing, and you don't think grown men pay attention to that? You know, the state of Illinois is at an all-time high of teens being missing.
Yeah.
You know, we're at an all-time high of molestation in our own community now.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people are saying there's something in the chicken. Girls are developing.
Yeah.
They can get in clubs with a fake ID because guess what? They look older now. And they're wearing stuff that they're not supposed to. And that's why men get caught up. Teachers get caught up. You say what to that?
I think what you just said, it starts in the home. You know, you have to train a child up in the way they should go, so when they get older, they won't leave that path. I mean, that's biblical. And when you have, as you said, young mothers having children that they're not really taking care or trying to be responsible for, you're going to have them just like in my era when we went into the streets and sold drugs and gangbang because it was more comfortable in the streets than it was at home. As you said, being a teacher, you see children that actually, they rather go to school or just be somewhere instead of the hell that they get at home. Sometimes sometimes it is the parent. And sometimes, not to blame the parents, sometimes there's the lack of resources or the families are going through things. I think really that people have dropped the ball on the family. And I think that, there has to be a resurgence of support for the family.
Here's the thing. Yes, it needs to be support.
Absolutely.
But we have politicians that's out there. They know the problem. You talk to them every day. They said, yeah, like you said earlier. Yeah, I understand what you're talking about. But there's this P word. This P word that's out there that I got to abide by. And that's called politics. So you're telling me that people's lives are on the line, on the desk of the governor, commutations, pardons, clemencies, on his desk right now. I was about to say something, but I'm gonna. I caught myself. I caught myself. Earl, I deserve an award for that. You gonna give it to me? He runs himself around the state of Illinois, and thousands of lives are pending on a pen. Yeah. He can say, have a letter out. So here's my question. Can your organization, I know you can't speak on your organization. I know you can go back to them, but at least go back to them. And I know you're still associated with Illinois Prisoners Project.
Yes.
Project. Go to them and other organization. And I'm speaking for myself, my organization as well. Can we get a letter together? Can we get a letter together to send to the governor regarding your deaths? People need to know.
Yeah. I actually, it's strange you asked that because I actually spoke to a good friend of mine that had a petition on the governor's desk for about 2 years, and he was asking me what's going on. I mean, people are always asking from prison what's going on. What is it? Like I know the governor personally, I don't, but when they ask these questions, I said, well, he's running for re-election. And I think this is a good place for us to start. If he's running for re-election, I think the people, you have so many organizations, the Mamas, which is another organization. You have so many organizations that I would love to see come together, which I'm trying to work to get a lot of us to come together, not up under the banner of our organizations, because when you understand, when you do have organizations, just as I'm telling you right now, there's certain restrictions. There's certain restrictions.
No, it's not. It's not restrictions. It's egos. The reason why I'm saying that is because I know organizations that can find a loophole and do the same thing we're doing. Yeah. And because if they get funding for doing expungements, and I know doggone well they're not doing expungements. It's like, come on now. Yeah. But we have a lawyer just sitting at the desk all day and just doing nothing but playing solitaire on his cell phone or her cell phone. You say?
That's why the power, I believe, as I say, it always has to be in the hands of the people. I think really when you talk about politicians, of course, those are, as they say, party lines. But when you get I think that's one of the things that I was in, prison for 30 years. So a lot of the atmosphere of what was going on, the climate, the political climate and so forth, that myself and other conscious men and women that viewed it. We had our discussions, we had our our talks, and really, we seen really that we would see that if you had a lot of the men and women, because you have some amazing women that's doing a lot of work, Diana Winchester, you have Najee Webster, you have so many amazing people in organizations that are doing great work. These are people that have made mistakes, that have been served time, and they're out and trying to give back, and that's a resource that must be tapped. You have people like myself that's willing to put our lives on the line to go in our communities, and let us do it. Let us do that. Let us speak to the people. Let us let us talk to the governor and say that if you want to be reelected, then you have to do something about this issue, because there's so much, people are, as I was listening to TikTok the other day, say while the world is burning, everybody's learning new line dances in our community, and
I think you got this from this show.
you said that too. And
I'm like,
yeah.
everybody getting a doggone fan saying,
Yeah.
where the fans at crack.
Yeah.
And while we're
Yeah.
while we're saying where the fans at,
Yeah.
crack,
Yeah.
and we got to figure out why mountain lions are moving themselves away from Salt Lake City to the south part of another state. Why bears are moving. Now they're bringing a lot of scientists over to see why is a mass exodus from one state to another.
Yeah.
And they're not stopping. They're going south. They're not staying north. So again, this governor, and we're not picking on him. Only thing we're saying is we just want to know why thousands is on your desk. Give us an explanation. I think we need one.
Absolutely. I think Martin Luther King said it best, justice delayed is justice denied. When you have this overflow of petitions, and if you're going to deny them, deny them. It doesn't take years to look and know what you're going to do. If you look at the logic behind that, why would someone wait 3 or 4 years to make a decision that you've either looked at it already, you've read it already, you may have even signed it already, and you just haven't revealed it to everybody yet? I mean, it's something really that if you look at it, a lot of people are not asking that question. Why is it, why is there something that exists even after we heard about truth in sentencing? And we heard about how this truth in sentencing devastated our communities. And then you see even in the federal courts, on a federal level, they're making changes for that. That's why you have a lot of people in the federal prisons getting out, because their sentences are being looked at again, and they're getting out. When they see people getting out and they're surprised on a federal level, why isn't that happening on a state level? Why isn't people in these states doing something about it? If you know that this was an issue, if you know that it devastated Black and brown communities, this. The science shows that. There's science that shows that men that are 70, 80 years old, women that are 70, 80 years old, people that are terminally ill, what possible threat can they be?
That's the same question that I'm asking. You was there a couple of weeks ago. A 72-year-old walked by, came in, brought his record, 62 felonies. 62 felonies. He walked out of that room with a new application, everything, line by line, filled that form. Only thing he has, he said he does barbecue. He's like, man, if I get a court date, you gonna get some ribs, man. Gave me some cards and said, and I'm gonna hold it to him. I'm gonna shoot.
You want your ribs?
I want my ribs. But getting back to the teens, you got more women that are being incarcerated than men. What I just got through saying about the twerking police, talking back to the police officers, even doing worse than men, the teen males that's out there. The dynamics has changed. We got some women that's walking in there with a rap sheet that I'm like, wow. Seriously? And how old are you? 24. So you was starting when you was a baby. And that's what's going on. What the Illinois Prison Project, I mean, you can't speak on that because I'm sorry about that. What your organization, current organization, can do, because the women is running amok. It's not what it used to be. We're not at the Thelma Evans situation now. We're not at the girlfriends era anymore. We're at the sexy red situation. You say?
Well, I do want to be clear with the organization I work for, Illinois Prison Project, that the work that we do, we're a legal non-for-profit, and we, deal with people that have done long stints of incarceration. We're not working, there's other organizations that work with children in the communities and so forth. That's not what we do. But personally, myself, just as me being here, me being at your events, I'm invested in our community. When I left, I remember when I was younger, and we could get into a fight with 30 people in the street, and let Miss Johnson come out her house, and we seen her, and she said, "Stop." We ran like she was the police. We stopped when we seen it could be two people fighting, and a police officer comes through, or 10 people fighting, a police officer come. There was a respect there that we stopped. We ran or whatever. What you're talking about now, this what's going on in communities. You have people that really, you know, are not afraid of that. And if you look at his history, look at what's been happening. Look at Laquan McDonald. Look at all the things that happened in the city. There's been or even over the country, there's been a distrust with the police, with people in authority. So now, fast forward, when that distrust and cities were burning and people were being killed, when you see all of that, and then all of a sudden, the children didn't have to be told not to trust. All they had to do is look at the media, see what's going on. So now, if I want to go sit on a car in the loop and twerk, or go down to downtown Chicago and do something, I have no respect for that authority. I have no respect for the authority in my home. So why would I have respect for the authority on the streets? So it's, to find out the problem of that, all you have to do is just look at what's the climate's been going on in the city of Chicago, and, in LA and New York and Ohio, wherever you look. I mean, there's, you see that. I mean, this is a digression. I was going to say progression, but it's a digression. It's a decline in the morals and in the values of people. Some people want to say it's a not having respect for God, or taking the Bible, or taking things out of it, but it's taking that structure. When I was, part of a street tribe, that's one of the things we talk about. There was a structure. And even in prison, there was a structure. We followed rules. There were people that told us what to do, and we listened to. We didn't break those rules. Because we honored that and we respected that. There's no respect. There's no respect.
Or you get your butt knocked out.
Yes. Even something lighter. You may not go to commissary. You may not be able to go have a visit. You may be disciplined. I mean, there's no this one. What action? If I do choose to do that, what's going to happen to me? Nothing. So the children are not afraid. They're not afraid.
Okay, very quickly. Mm-hmm. how can we make them afraid? Very quickly.
I think really to have that respect, I think that respect comes out of love, and I know it sounds corny, but that love. I was on the outskirts of society, and I felt that, and I did things basically to fight against my community to go because I felt my community was at war with me. And when I got out of prison 30 years later, I mean, I was at Food for Less, and I didn't know anything about the well, you just check out yourself. So I just stood there, didn't know what to do. I kept stepping there, stepping back,
Thinking the person will come.
well, I didn't know what to do. I'd never seen this. I heard of it, but I didn't know how to work it. And I didn't want to tell. I'm a grown man. I didn't want to tell anybody that I didn't know this. And a man eventually, I'm sitting there like 5-10 minutes, just stepping back, letting people go. And an elderly white man see me there, and he said, "You're gonna move up." And the first thing I told him, I said, I jumped and I said, "I just got out of prison." And I don't know why I said that, but that was that trauma of me being in prison and being fearful of it. He just looked at me and said, "Well, welcome home." And I just started crying. Just that. It was that act of acceptance, act of love, act of really someone welcoming me, you know, changed me a lot, even my perception of it, because I thought really everybody out here hated us. I really thought that. I thought I was going into a hostile environment. I've done a lot in my community bad, and they're never going to forget. But the more good I did, the more when I came and spoke to people and helped people and cut my neighbor's grass and doing this. And when I started doing that and people doing things, showing it, and when I told them about my past, they didn't care about that because they knew the person. So I think really a lot of children they need to be loved. They need to be people that care for them. I just took my son after, being incarcerated fishing for the first time. We went to Heideke Lake, and a friend of mine, Anthony Spalding, we went together, and now we're about to do another fishing trip at Wolf Lake. And a couple of friends of mine said, we want to take some young people in the community and take them fishing with us. So we're trying to get get things together for that. We're not asking for finances or anything. We're trying to get some fishing poles and stuff like that. And we just want to do that. And what we want to do is sit around that lake with a little music and maybe barbecue, maybe hopefully catch some fish, and speak to our young people about our experiences of going in prison, being in the gangs, being in the street tribes, and how that affected us. And now we're making positive choices. And I bought a home. I drive a nice car. I just came here on my motorcycle. I'm doing well. And I'm doing well because now I'm making the right choices. If I would have came out with the same mentality I went in with, I wouldn't have anything. I'd probably possibly be back in there.
There's so much to pack into 1 hour.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, we are out of time. My brother, thank you so much.
Always.
Mark me down.
Okay.
For the next fish. I don't know how to fish. I'm going to get a boot.
Okay. Make sure you get your license.
That's Illinois for you.
Yeah.
You got to get your license.
We're going on Saturday, 26th.
The 26th?
Yeah.
I'm talking about next year. So what we're going to do, we're going to plan for summer of 2026. How about that?
Okay.
And we're going to get a group of kids. We're going to get a bus and stuff like that.
I would love that.
And my not-for-profit, we can do something and we can have a father-son type of situation with second chance.
I like that.
Deal?
Promise.
All right, man.
Love you, bro.
Same here. Well, yeah. Don't be a stranger to Intellectual Radio, okay?
I will not.
All right. That's going to do it for us on the Drive at 5. Thanks to Wanda behind the scenes, Earl. Oh, Wanda, our executive producer, Earl behind the scenes. You guys have a wonderful week. Sorry about it.